You'll be a rich man because now IPL teams are making big money. I've seen that happen in Deccan Chargers when Lakshman had to step down and Adam Gilchrist took over. And Lakshman didn't take the icon position status because they wanted more
real
money.
Team man.
Yeah.
And then they threw him out.
Most owners are superstitious. I mean, I know of Chennai who color their dressing room in a particular way. I know of some teams that do a lot of pre-event pujas. Because they want to leave no stone unturned to win.
It's in the air. It's a 6.
IDFC FIRST Bank presents a century of stories cricket, spelled with a C. And with me, of course, famous doctor, Dr. Hattangadi, Shishir Hattangadi, famous for St. Mary's cricket, where you began with hand cricket.
Absolutely.
And then you went to great glory in Ranji Trophy and almost at the door of international selection. So from where to where, what a lovely story. But today we're going to talk about the defunct IPL teams. But before that, this is the right guy to talk to because he had a hand in the formation of two of the blue-blooded teams of the IPL. Just take us through that initial period and then we'll get into the topic.
So in the first year of the IPL, I was a director cricket for Deccan Chargers. And they finished last. But we picked Rohit Sharma in the auction that year. Nobody, even Mumbai didn't pick him. We picked him up in that auction. The following year, Deccan Chargers was champion.
So the seeds were sown by you.
Seeds were sown, but I lost my job. And the second year, I helped restructure Mumbai Indians. We finished somewhere near the last.
Second last
in South Africa.
So you improved.
And then after that, they won 5 championships. So
moment you leave, they go to great glories.
So when a franchise offered me a job, I said, be prepared
for the next year after.
But you can invest in me now because in future you might be champion. So he said, why? I said, look at my track record.
But would you do it right now? Supposing they have a new team and there's always a chance it get bigger and bigger.
Well, I'd like to help on the other side of the fence, not so much in the cricketing aspect because the game has evolved.
What does a director exactly do? You're in charge of everything?
Well, you're the link between the cricketers and the management in every which way.
So you're super important.
Super important cosmetically, but now I don't think it's important because the players have direct access to every owner.
But today the story is about the big bucks going a little wrong. The defunct IPL teams. What happens to these teams that come in and then disappear? There are different reasons for different teams and we'll try and go through all of them. Not all the reasons because that's going to be impossible. But shall we start with Kochi Tuskers?
No, we'll start with the inception of the IPL. When Lalit Modi actually decided to do the IPL, of course with the blessings of the BCCI, there were very few takers. So what he did is he reached out to teams or owners that he knew personally, through his business contacts. And one of them was, of course, Deccan Chargers, Deccan Chronicle.
The newspaper guys.
The newspaper guys. And that was the first team that came in, or the Hyderabad franchise was taken by them.
Right.
We'll come to Kochi later. First, we'll talk about the Deccan Chargers because they were a team that lost the franchise.
Right.
You see, the rules of the IPL then were that if you were not able to pay that guaranteed amount every year, you had an option of returning the franchise to the BCCI. And that is what they
So you lose the team.
You lose the team because you can't adhere to the commitment.
So like an EMI that's going on. You got to...
Absolutely. It's a EMI thing, business. And they couldn't do it. But they went out into the market to try and raise money.
Right.
Which they were not allowed. They had to control... The controlling stake had to be the company itself. The people who had come in to run the team, the owners. They went out into the market. I think they defaulted and they were thrown out.
So you're not allowed to raise money. You've got to have money yourself.
Absolutely. You have to have money to pay the BCCI and, of course, run the franchise. The ROI comes in a couple of years once, the broadcasting rights go up as they have now.
Well, you couldn't even say that in 2008-9. You're not sure what's happening. Going back again to 2008, when you were director, they start off their fresh. 2009, it was moved to South Africa they win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when do they lose the team?
3 years, I think. But yes, they lose it because they don't have the funds to adhere to the commitments they've made to the BCCI. And then what happens is BCCI take back the franchise from them.
Right. No, but going back to the Deccan Chronicle people, the owners, the family, when they invested in it, when they got the idea of doing this in 2008-9, they must have thought they'd be able to pay these EMIs, right? So what, the business went wrong? What-
Yeah, there are two things to this. You know, if you get into an arrangement or you get into a business venture like this, in the first few years, there's only payouts. Maybe their core businesses didn't do as well and they didn't have the funds to give back to the BCCI or invest in the franchise that they bought. So that could be one reason. But where I think the BCCI took the franchise back from there because they flouted the rules. As in, you know, they went out into the market from what I remember.
Openly.
Yeah, openly or, you know, through people, and they wanted to sort of sell stake,
Right.
which
is
is
not
also
allowed.
which was not allowed.
So you
then.
can't sublet and sell
No,
stake.
no, you can't.
Yeah.
Because it's your asset, you pay for it. You
Oh.
can't bring in a paying
I was
guest.
going to buy in KKR. I was just on the phone with Shahrukh just 5 minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Put the phone down.
You'll be a rich man because now IPL teams are making
Huge,
big
huge,
money.
huge.
They're making about 300 crores after all the
So
broadcasting.
if they stood, if it remained Deccan Chargers today, they would be floating in it.
Absolutely. Everyone who bought a franchise in those days is
Gone through
cash
the roof.
rich now.
Wow.
Is cash rich.
All right. So then take us through what happens after that. They are penalized and told to forfeit the team.
They forfeit the team.
Yeah.
And in comes Sunrisers.
Yeah.
That is,
But they have to rebrand the same. It's the same region, but you have to rebrand it.
you have to rebrand it.
Yeah.
It's a new owner,
Yeah.
a new look. Of course, the same ground, but everything else is new. The management is new, and it happened to a few other teams too who actually got their sums wrong.
So,
in terms of,
so sorry, just staying with that for a second. Why didn't they stay with the name Deccan though? Because that was a sort of a brand. I suppose they can't use everything, but either Chargers or Deccan.
But it was a new beginning.
Yeah.
I believe that when you have new owners, their outlook is different, and they want to sort of put the past away. And if they used a name which had Deccan in it, it would obviously be connected to the older franchise. So the Sunrisers became the new name.
So just going a little in depth into the Deccan Chargers, because you're the man in the middle of that. Tell us what it was like in that first year, and what perhaps in your view went wrong. I mean, it's a little unfair. It was the first year.
So it's a long time ago, but you know, some things just stand out through the years. It was early days of the IPL, so every franchise was trying to figure out what is team building, how do you do it, how do you create that environment for a team to win, etc., etc. I mean, important was first getting to understand the mindset of players, because year one nobody knew. We had one guy coming from South Africa, we had some coming from England, not England, we had some coming from Australia, some coming from South Africa, one coming from Pakistan. I had Shahid Afridi in my team. So it was actually a congregation of so many players coming, and owners themselves didn't know what to do. I mean, I can speak for Deccan Chargers, and you know, you're trying to get a team, you know, individuals, good individuals, quality individuals, talented players coming together to play for one team. And
Some
it
of
hadn't
them don't
happened
even know
before.
each other. Huh.
They don't even know each other. Language barriers, mindset barriers, understanding.
Veg, non-veg.
Forget even the
That's huge.
mindset. Even the mindset. You know, how do they think? And on top of that, suddenly you get owners who are into a new space. They want to contribute. They're all well-meaning, but they want to contribute to a team's performance with their inputs.
So just let me say it out loud. You're saying that some of the team owners who don't have any cricket knowledge and no credentials to speak would start advising the players.
Oh yeah, and that is something that was baffling.
Without
you
giving
know?
names, can you tell me one?
No. I mean, they would be quite fearless in a sense to come and
Give us
advise
an
you how to
example.
bat,
I love these stories.
how to bowl,
Yeah.
involve themselves in team
So
meetings.
what would they say? They were actually technically.
Yeah, I
like,
mean, you talk about trigger
use your wrist
movements
more.
and back
Are
and
you
across,
serious?
or you know, coming close, where you deliver from. You want to be a part of a discussion.
Yeah.
You know, the danger of being a part of a discussion is when you are not equipped to talk about it, you're going to be listened to because you're paying the salaries. But it's also dangerous because at the back of your mind as a sportsman, you're saying, what is he talking? I mean, it's just a question of tolerating people. I think cricket has evolved, IPL has evolved. Owners have learnt.
people know their position now.
And no, owners have learnt about the game over the last so many years. They know where to draw a line and say, this is outside the ambit of my skill. I don't want to get there. They have top coaches, video analysts, you know, research people, talent scouts to do that. But in the early days, it was quite a story actually. And for me, it was, you know, I was in between trying to figure out what do they want versus what do the players need. And somewhere I felt the owners actually were trying to cross the line in terms of trying to get very familiar with the players, which I think is not
But
right.
it happens in American sport a lot. Without the credentials, the owner coming and talking to them in the dressing room, etc. Without having played.
But I don't see it happening in football. In EPL, you
not
never
in
know.
football. No,
They
I don't
don't come.
think.
They
Yeah.
don't come anyway.
No,
It's
I
the
don't think.
manager and
Yeah.
the coach who's
Yeah, yeah.
the manager in football who's involved. Here it's more. I mean, the whole idea of watching owners on the ground after the match, it's for somebody like me. It's
You're not a fan of that.
I'm not a fan of that, and not because of anything. I know they need their space, they need their camera time, whatever. But the point is, it's sport after all.
Yeah.
You know, you can pay X amount of money to a player. Does it guarantee you success? We've seen that with Rishabh Pant. We've seen it with so many players. Because ultimately, when you're paying money, and this has happened from year one, when you pay top dollar to a player, you're trying to evaluate his performance on a ROI.
Which becomes ridiculous.
In
yeah.
sport, it just doesn't happen. So my advice to owners is once you pay for a player, like in the Deccan Chargers, they paid some huge money for players, whether it was Gilchrist, whether it was Andrew Simons, whether it was Shahid Afridi, whether it was Rohit Sharma. Once you buy them, just hope that your
back
perception
off.
is right.
Yeah.
Your perception of picking a player and why you're paying him is right. And then don't expect anything because it's never going to.
So what
Add
you're
up.
telling us is that the better run franchises today are the ones where the owners know their position in a sense.
I mean, look at the successful ones. I know that Chennai has left everything to the captain.
Very
and-
corporatized,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they've left everything to the captain and the
Yeah,
coach.
yeah.
Mumbai Indians have very passionate owners. Very, very passionate owners. And sometimes I feel they're so passionate and so good to you, you feel obliged in a way if you don't
Perform
perform.
well, yeah.
The pressure must be huge because the owner doesn't lose any stone unturned to make sure of player comfort and mood and environment. While the others, and some teams have 3 owners. Now, we don't know what's happening there. Are they on the same page? Are they on different pages? We don't know. And ultimately, it boils down to the last column. You do what you want. Have you won? Finishing second is just not acceptable to anybody. So, I mean, I know that in Deccan Chargers, it used to be the owners used to actually cross the line in terms of involving themselves and indulging with the players. That I felt actually didn't help.
Both pre and post.
Pre and post.
Yeah.
I'm not talking post. I'm talking about while Deccan Chargers was in charge.
No, I mean pre and post the match.
Yeah.
Playing the role of the coach,
Yes,
playing the role of the
yes. I
mentor,
mean, team meetings-
mixing up all your roles. when
Team
you're the
meetings,
owner.
I would be flabbergasted at times to hear owners provide their input or have a meeting with the captain to tell him what he feels. You can feel what you want. Ultimately, it's the players who go out there and perform, and it all depends on how they get up on that particular
Shahrukh
day.
famously, always says, "I don't know anything about this, whatever." It's just emotional conversation. He
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
go to that,
emotion.
yeah.
It's emotion,
Yeah.
and it should be because you own a team. But there is a very thin line between overindulgence and being passionate. And when you're overindulgent, and it can happen, because after all, you own a team. I've seen that with a few franchises.
We won't take names.
Yeah, but I've seen that, and it's important as an owner where to draw the line, because when you're winning, you'll find good speeches being made on Instagram and on social
Yeah.
media. But when you lose, how do you tackle your team? That is important. How you deal with them.
So just in a nutshell, the first year at DC, the problem to some extent was that the owners and the players to some extent didn't know what position they were playing or role they were playing.
I think the fabric of the IPL and franchisee cricket was new to everybody. And I don't blame owners here. I don't blame players here because they're trying to figure out for themselves why they're being paid such money and what is their role. What are the benchmarks for success in terms of excellence? They didn't know it because there was no benchmark before that. There was no reference point for the players themselves. There was no reference point for the owners. The owners said, okay, I bought a team. Now let me see what I can do with it. How can I make things easier for players? Now that easier said than done because once you buy a team, you get involved.
Right.
Do you know where to draw a line? In year one, they didn't know. Maybe over the years that IPL has been held, I think owners have realized where to draw a line. Because at the end of the day, only one team can win. You do what you want, you'll get only one winner at the end of the IPL. So even number 2 doesn't hold a place in terms of, doing well. So they've also realized that though there's money being made by everybody, there's the fear of losing the championship, and you feel you've done the best to pick your best team. But you should forget about the team once you've spent the money and create an environment that helps you do well.
This is our owners edition special. This goes only to the owners. Thanks, Shish.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I know it's a tough one. I mean, I empathize with owners, but it's something that they will have to realize with time.
So, what's the Kochi story? Let's get into the Kochi story.
The Kochi story, obviously, there was certain yardsticks that the BCCI had asked for.
It's a different set of owners, because generally it's one big owner or two or three.
Like you have the Mumbai Indians, there will be one owner,
Yeah.
but most of the franchises are owned by the conglomerate. I think in the case of Kochi Tuskers, they had a consortium of owners, 3 or 4 of them, and that didn't go well with the BCCI in terms of the holding pattern of the ownership, and that is why they got banned.
No, but just explain to the layman, and I mean I'm the layman here. The BCCI accepted the Kochi Tuskers' bid. The consortium, a mix of people. They're almost like a board that represented the company. And this company is now owned by them, and the team played for a year. But then something went wrong in year 2 again. They didn't make the payments. Players were not paid. Take us through what exactly went wrong.
I think from what I hear, I mean, Lalit Modi is the best person to answer that.
Doesn't answer the phone. I've called twice.
Well, just send him a message on Twitter. He'll reply. But I think he'll have a better story to tell you about how they had to induct Kochi Tuskers into the franchise, into the IPL. And of course, what went wrong after that in terms of the holding pattern. And of course, then the fact that they lost the franchise, they went to court. Players were not paid because the matters were in court. A lot of players didn't get paid. So I think the players also probably must have gone up, because it was these contracts are all tripartite. They're between BCCI, the franchise, and the players. So it used to be like that. So any default in payments by the franchise, the BCCI would deduct that amount and pay the players off. What they owed the franchise in terms of broadcasting rights would all be deducted from what they owed them, and the players would be looked after. And that was something that the BCCI ensured right from day one, that no player should be affected by what happens between an owner of a team or a team owner and the BCCI.
But at the end of the day, they froze their assets, so to speak, and it went into cold storage. And so nobody got paid, and they didn't make payments and went into court.
They're still in court, from what I understand. They're fighting a legal battle, but yes, the players suffered. And that was sad, because, the players come here to make money. They were offered a lot of money. And from what I hear, if they haven't been paid, then obviously the BCCI will obviously ask the players also to file against the owners.
So just again, I'm a little confused about the Kochi Tuskers situation. They did not pay what?
The bank guarantee. There's a certain amount to be paid, a percentage to be paid every year to the BCCI in terms of a guarantee, which they couldn't adhere to. I think most teams that have lost or given up the franchises or haven't been able to adhere to that.
They've been penalized because they couldn't make the payment of the bank guarantee in the right time.
Absolutely. It may have happened in Deccan Chargers case. It happened in the Kochi's case.
Kochi's did only 1 year. Deccan was there for 4-5. Kochi does 1 year and fails to give the bank guarantee in the second year.
In the second year, yes.
Quite harsh.
Very harsh.
There's no time flexibility.
Very harsh, and they lost a profitable business proposition, actually.
Right. IDFC first fact. Kochi Tuskers Kerala started on the wrong foot before they even played a match. After the team was bought, the owners announced that they would name the team Indie Commandos, where Indie stood for an independent Indian team and Commandos for an elite fighting squad. Such was the backlash that they received for the name that they had to rename themselves as Kochi Tuskers Kerala. Okay, let's move on to Pune for a second. The Pune Warriors, they came up with a lot of pomp. The Sahara group.
Who were incidentally the sponsors of the Indian team then, maybe?
For a long
time. Before that?
For a long time, yeah. So what again, it's the same story?
Same story, obviously. Not enough funds or not able to adhere to the bank guarantee. And then, of course, we know what happened.
I must say, so the BCCI is very cut and dry when it comes to all this.
Yeah, because if you look at the history of the IPL, the BCCI is the one who's actually getting 60% of the revenue. 40% is being passed on to the franchises in terms of broadcasting rights, in terms of digital rights, in terms of...
Divided by all the franchises.
Yes. So 60% stays I may be wrong in my percentage count, but it's about 60% that
So they
stays
need a
with
few years
BCCI.
to start making serious money. And these were still the early
Yeah,
years.
but the earlier teams bought it not so expensive.
At a lower
so,
rate, yeah.
So they would, by year 10 or something, they must have been minting money, you know.
My
and,
God, really?
it's 8 years now.
So they could just find those bank guarantees.
Yeah.
The Kochi Tuskers, the Pune Warriors, the Deccan Chargers, all these guys would be profitable.
Oh yes, because the prices offered to them and the minimum guarantee offered to them in those days was nothing like what the new franchises have got.
Why didn't you buy a team, Shishir, with all your money?
Maybe soon.
Coming soon. One day it's going to be 24 teams. But then we have a very strange situation where two teams are suspended. You, of course, clarify everything for us. This is Chennai and Rajasthan.
Rajasthan.
So in the meantime, there's a vacuum.
Absolutely.
There's space for two other contenders. And who comes in?
So Pune comes in.
Gujarat.
Gujarat comes in. But Gujarat with their home in Rajkot.
Yeah.
They come in for a period of 2 years. They come in, I don't know whether they make money, but they come in as a part of the replacement for the teams that have taken a sabbatical.
So what happens to them? You're given a contract for 2 years because you're allowing Chennai and Rajasthan to come back after 2 years. So that means you're only allowed to be a franchise for 2 years?
Yeah, but I don't think there is a huge guarantee money paid in those 2 years by these teams because they're just interim. So there's no possibility of them making a huge return on investment in those 2 years. So they've come in as stopgap owners, caretaker owners. If I
So
may call
payments
them.
going out are also less. Everything
Much
is less.
less. Everything
Yeah.
is less.
And the understanding is you have a 2-year contract. And then
Absolutely.
you have to back off.
You have to. I mean, when the BCCI tells you to back off, you have no choice.
Yeah.
See, look, let's understand that the BCCI is the parent body. They are the ones who've created the. I mean, there will be people saying that it's under the umbrella of the BCCI. So they call the shots. They decide, and fair enough. I mean, if two teams have come in as a stopgap arrangement, then obviously they are not going to be paying the huge amount of monies as guarantee for 2 years. You know, it'll be a different numbers game for them.
Also, I think they were looking at the players' situation, and if you're banning Chennai and you're suspending Chennai and Rajasthan for 2 years, they try to give the same players from that pool a chance to play.
Absolutely.
So most of them get into the
It's
Pune or
about-
the Gujarat team.
It's about 40 players.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have 40 players redundant, you know, who are playing for
and
a
some
good
really big
franchise.
names
Yeah,
like MSD
big.
and Jadeja.
So they come in.
etc.
They come in into a fresh auction, and of course, they need to be occupied playing. You know, because they are sought after. They have a brand value. They are playing for India, so they come in the interim period for 2 years, till the old franchise.
If I remember correctly, I think Pune takes on Ashwin, Steve Smith. Is there MSD?
MSD.
So they've got some really big names. It's quite a
Big
flashy
names.
team.
And of
Ben
course,
Stokes.
Ben Stokes, and
Yeah.
they promote. I mean, Pune becomes a epicenter of IPL cricket, which is again good because you've got Mumbai, and then you've got Pune again as the epicenter for a franchise.
The derby.
Yeah, so you have a local derby in a sense within a local derby within the IPL, which is good, which is actually good for the game. Unfortunately, it's only for 2 years.
Rising Pune Super Giants, we just look at their cricket curve there. They had only 2 seasons. They knew it was only 2 seasons. So they have a horrible first season. If I remember correctly, almost last. And then they reinvent themselves in the second season. I don't know if they sacked Dhoni, but Dhoni is no longer captain. And the captain is now Steve Smith, who's in the pomp and splendor of all 3 formats at that point. He was a very inventive batsman, if you remember that point as well. I got to interview him. I remember I went to Pune and interviewed all these players. They had Ben Stokes. They had a couple of big names as well around Steve Smith. They had Ashwin, who pulled out, I think, in the beginning of the tournament. But they went right up to the finals. Do you remember?
In year 2, yes.
Yeah.
And bold decisions by Sanjeev Goenka, I mean, the owners. I won't take names. But to to ask Dhoni to step down was
in just 1 season.
Was path-breaking because, here is a captain who was
He's one of the untouchables of Indian cricket.
of franchisee cricket and, the undisputed leader, so to speak, in franchise cricket. And a tough call. And this is what I like about the IPL. They don't hold back in taking tough calls. You can be doing well for the country. You could
It's
be
a very
performing.
secular sort of system. Absolutely.
Very.
I mean, you may not agree, but immediately the call is taken.
It's not about emotion. It's about deliverables.
Yeah.
And they asked Dhoni to step down. Steve Smith comes in. And they almost win the IPL in year 2. I mean, they lose by what?
Run in the
run?
final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what took. I think this also excited Sanjeev Goenka.
Yeah. He tasted blood.
Because he tasted blood in 2 years. He took some bold decisions. In year 2, he made it to the finals, in a stopgap franchisee. And obviously, when you realize that this makes sense to me.
So you have two stories where they've gone from 8 to 1, from top 0 to hero, which is one is yours, Deccan Chargers, and one is this.
Second is Mumbai Indians.
Yeah, also from almost, yeah.
Yeah, but I had nothing to do with Sanjeev Gonka.
Yeah. We never know. We never know. Yeah.
No, but it's a great story in terms of understanding. Sometimes when you take these harsh decisions, they work well for you.
Also, it allows you to believe that a team who's had a horrible season can actually come right to the top. This is one sport where actually you can go from 0 to the top in just one season.
So, even in that year when Pune
They began badly.
came into the finals, you found some key players performing. Even in year 2, going back in time, that second year, you had some stellar performances, some critical performances that came from their key players. And that is why they reached the finals. And one decision, a bold decision to ask Dhoni to step down. Right, if it didn't go right, it would have been, somebody would have had to take the flak, and usually it's the owners.
Also, they went with a neutral captain. It's also a safer bet if you want to go away from the mighty Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Yeah, of course. But then in India, we are emotional.
Yeah.
And to take such decisions is a tough one. It's really tough. Believe me, I've seen that happen in Deccan Chargers when, Lakshman had to step down and Adam Gilchrist took over. And Lakshman didn't take the icon position status because they wanted more money.
And then they threw him out. In a sense.
He went out of the team and Gilchrist took over the captaincy. So I think sometimes, many a time, owners take hard decisions and they're not emotional about it. And that is the USP of the IPL.
So, great performance by the Sanjeev Goenka group in getting that almost victory in the second year itself. And then, of course, they had to let it go because of the contract they had. But then subsequently, a few years later,
Sanjeev Goenka comes back to buy a franchise. He buys Lucknow. And it has nothing to do with the past. This is a fresh beginning, a fresh start at a different price and a bigger price, but creating a new team for himself. And of course, the fact that they go on to do well in the first year of the IPL. And Gujarat, who come with a new captain, Hardik Pandya. It just goes to tell you sometimes that, the intelligent pickings make a good team.
financial frauds are becoming more sophisticated each day, and protection starts with education. Get answers to all your questions about financial frauds at IDFC FIRST Academy with flexible, interactive content covering everything from spotting frauds to safeguarding yourself. Learn how to keep your finances secure and more. Visit idfcfirstacademy.com for free access to all this priceless information. And what's the Gujarat Lions story post the 2 years?
Obviously, there is a change of ownership now. You're talking about the Gujarat Lions as in the current Gujarat team?
No, so they don't exactly change into that because there are new owners that come into play.
Yes.
So what happens? Just take us through, because Gujarat still gets a team then.
Yeah, Gujarat gets a team, and of course it is bought over by one of those venture capital companies. Now taken over by a major stake by Torrent. So now they have a official conglomerate that owns the company, which is good, because when VCs come in to buy a team as a business proposition, they're obviously looking at monetizing it in a short period of time. And now what you have is another conglomerate that has come in as a company to buy a team, which is good, because so now you know that there's a stability and it's not going to be traded off to the next person.
So what is the future when it comes to IPL teams? Because now we have all established teams, so they can't be missing payments and things like that. Plus, as you said, the early days have been cleared and they're profitable, most of them, etc.
Yes.
So that's never going to be an issue. But how many teams are we going to have?
No, I think we've maximized it.
Yeah.
Because there are two things. One is the window of number of days to be playing the IPL. I think we can't go beyond this, because there is cricket beyond IPL.
I hope.
Yeah, there is. And there is a FTP, a tour program that you have
Future
to adhere
Tours
to.
program, yeah.
That has to be adhered to. I mean, imagine after the IPL, you go to England to play Test cricket,
Yeah.
which is a completely different format, which is also important for the health of Indian cricket. So I think we can't go beyond these number of days to be playing in the IPL.
So you don't...
I don't see more teams coming in.
and maybe having like 2 leagues or something like that.
No, I don't think so. It will dilute the intensity of of a tournament which is the biggest money or revenue earner for Indian cricket, world cricket.
So Pune Warriors, India had a checkered sort of career for 3-4 year period that they were in. They started with Yuvraj Singh as captain.
They pick Yuvraj first,
Yeah.
then they pick Saurav in the year 2.
They changed to sort of,
They changed to Saurav.
Yeah.
Saurav, I think, leaves KKR to come.
Well, leaves is perhaps not the right word, but fair. Okay.
Yeah, but it's a transfer or it's a shift. It's a transition. And then they struggle. They struggle for 2 years. They haven't won too many games. I can't remember the numbers, but not
I think
many.
they've win only 12 games out of about 47, which is a pretty low record.
And then they go to Aaron Finch, who's then the most sought after, one of the sought after T20 players.
White ball players,
to,
yeah.
to lead them. And they dropped the name India, Pune Warriors India, to Pune Warriors, I think.
Yeah.
Because their captain is Australian.
Yeah.
Could be one of the reasons.
No idea. But
Or-
it doesn't
so-
change their fortunes. They still continue to...
No, it doesn't. But it just goes to tell you that change of leadership, change of franchise. Ultimately, it's about the team and how they perform in those 45 days. And Pune didn't get their sums right over those 3 years.
Well, the old Pune, the new franchise that comes into play a little later, I think with just 2 seasons does pretty well, going from last to almost first.
Fabulously well. New owner again, and they do well in year 2, which of course is saying a lot when you got the franchise just for 2 years. It's not easy to build trust, build faith, and of course get
And
the
success.
players together and success.
I suppose you're a former cricketer, you know better than all of us. There is no actual guarantee. No matter how much you do with terms of combinations, preparation, data analysis, all these things, getting the right people on board, on paper, good owners who know their place, technicians, backroom staff, all that. You can get everything right and you still lose by 1 run in the end.
It's amazing you say this because I've watched very closely over the years how every owner or most owners are superstitious. I mean, I know of Chennai who color their dressing room in a particular way. I know of some teams that do a lot of pre-event pujas because they want to leave no stone unturned to win. I don't know what other teams do, but everybody has their own way of approaching the IPL. And that's what makes it so different and so exciting.
And the romance of the game, after all that, some lesser-known team with lesser-known players can upset you on their day. Things can just go wrong with all the planning. One player can make 18, 26 balls and change the match. All these things happen.
And they consult astrologers too. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
A lot of them consult astrologers. If some of them had it their way and the astrologer told them, make sure your ex-player gets up on this side of the bed, they do it. And it's not about being superstitious. It's not about being, it's about saying, okay, I've ticked all the boxes. Now it's for the players to do well.
Yeah.
And that is
They
something.
spend so much money, hundreds of crores have gone into it and all that. You expect that why take a chance with stars? You might as well,
absolutely. You just go with everything.
Tick,
and
tick, tick, tick.
tick. Go to every temple, do this puja, do that puja. And that's what makes cricket a religion in India. When you have owners across the IPL franchises going to pujas and doing havans, it's all about cricket being a religion.
So that's it. The defunct IPL teams, extinct for now. But you never know with this whole IPL circus, and I use this in a positive way, because it's so organic that we are learning every day about what could happen. It's not like we have a blueprint of what did happen and we can just use that going forward.
I mean, it's just like the power play.
Yeah.
In year 1, what was a par score in the power play has completely changed. Nobody talked about 10 and over, and we come from a period when India scored 183 in the World Cup and won.
If you want to be creative, like you have the impact player, you could have the impact team, and you could allow a team to come from left field in the middle of the tournament. And they only are given a certain amount of matches to play. Because one team is dropped down really badly, say they've lost 6 in a row, they go out, get relegated, and you have this other team coming in. There are scenarios because the market is so vast.
It's very creative and delusional, Cyrus. It won't happen. It won't happen. I think the impact player itself has received a bit of discussion and debate in terms of
killing the all-rounder.
In changing the dynamics of a team sport. So maybe that will be reviewed first before anything else. Now, your creative instincts talk about just something else which may not happen just now.
1.45 billion people in the country. So many different reasons. Lots of multi-billionaires, billionaires, etc. Conglomerates, people from outside, foreign investment, everything is there. I'm just thinking if there's a market, if there's a demand, there will be a supply. So the story is not over. We have
The
10
story
teams
is
at
not
the
over,
moment.
but believe me, when a story is growing, you don't want it to plateau. From an advertising
The marginal
perspective,
utility of
from
the
a
product.
revenue perspective, what is the USP of IPL cricket? It's close finishes, it's big hits, it's great stories.
High quality for the most
And
part.
great stories of
Yeah.
unknown people from modest backgrounds making it big. Now, if these three areas lose their charm, then maybe the IPL will lose its charm. What we get excited is somebody from Samastipur coming and scoring 134 balls
At the age of 14.
at the age of 14, or something unique happening in the fabric of domestic cricket. I say IPL is domestic cricket. Now, when these qualities go out of the window and these stories don't happen, the big hits don't happen, or the close finishes don't happen, the USP of T20 cricket gets diluted. And we don't want to see that, because what's exciting about the IPL are these three aspects of, this Vignesh Putur coming from nowhere, bowling his Chinamans, nobody knows about him, picking up wickets.
Got played for Kerala. Yeah.
Really, and this is what happens in IPL. Suddenly, from being a backstage artist, you become a protagonist. It's like in your film world, and you become a protagonist with 50,000, 70,000 people on ground.
So it's a great Indian dream.
It's a great Indian dream, aspirational, and to keep it aspirational, we have to protect these three aspects, as I said, of the game. Great stories, great finishes, and big hits. That's what it's all about.
So for the IPL teams which are now defunct, the chapter is more or less closed. I tried to fight for Kochi here for a minute, but it looks like these are the 10 teams and nothing is going to change in the near future.